Hello everyone, it's DKSOR and welcome back to another Redstone tutorial. Today I have for you abh037's 6x6 funnel door that he showed on the Myzuba Games channel. There's no tutorial for this, and so I built this off of the showcase. Since there's no tutorial, I decided I would make one. And even though I decided I would make one a long time ago, I never did it, so here we are, like a few years later. Uh, I know this is not the most compact anymore, but I think this was still built in well, it was I'm pretty sure it was before Observer, so it was like 1.8, 1.9 or something like that. So this door is pretty impressive, and I wanted to approach this tutorial a different way than I normally would. So I will show you just how to build it if you want that, because I know there are people who don't want the entire explanation. They don't need to know how the door works. But for people who want to get better at Redstone, I think this is a good way to do it. Essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and explain it so that it feels like the construction of the door it feels very natural. But again, if you don't care about that and you just want to build the door, then you can just skip to the timestamp in the video, and that will be the just block by block tutorial. Alright, so to show you the closing, it's a little bit messy, but it's necessary for the door to work. Personally, I think it looks pretty cool. And then that's the opening. So it's pretty fast actually. And the door itself is only 3 blocks wide, this is pretty much just layout sized. I'm honestly not really sure what layout sized means, because technically it's not, because at the bottom you have this extra layer, so it's technically not layout sized, and on the sides you have an extra block, but you know, it's close enough. So alright, so without further ado, let's get on with the tutorial. Okay, so to start off, you're going to need a 14 by 3 space and 5 blocks from this building platform will be your floor. So I've just built the frame around here. It's just a 6 by 6 rectangle, square. Yeah. So first we're gonna do is build the layout. So you can come to this middle back block, place a block, and then you have 3 sticky pistons like this, and then 2 more here for your double extenders, and then at the front you're going to have pistons like this. Okay, so I've labeled the door blocks in blue, and I'll do the same with these. And then on the side, we're going to have 5 pistons, like that. And the same goes for the other side. And we're going to go in 1 block and put in our double extenders like this. And then on the top, you want 6 pistons on the front, and then your 2 double extenders, and then 2 triple extenders. I almost did all of that without actually saying anything, but I caught myself just in time. Okay, so this setup might look like a little bit strange. The reason we're doing it this way is okay. Well, so I have to say first off that I have no idea what ABH was thinking when he built this, and obviously this was probably not the first thing he built. It was probably the result of many iterations, but I hope I can explain it to you in somewhat of a natural way so that it makes sense to you intuitively. Um, the reason, and I think so. So I think the reason we have triple extenders on the top and the bottom. First of all, it's obviously a lot easier to make a triple extender from the top because of budding. Um, and while doing it from the bottom is hard, I think it's probably easier than trying to get a bunch of inputs to the sides, and then you have to like somehow get an input here to power pistons here and like over here and stuff, and it's probably just a pain in the ass. And also, if you wanted to power a piston here, you would have to do some weird redstone block stuff, and I think it's probably easier just to do it from the bottom, and then when you get a piston here, then you can power it from the side with a redstone block. So that's probably why he did it. It seems logically sound to me, but again, this was he probably experimented with multiple layouts to find out which one was the best one. So the thing about the triple extenders is that when you have the piston here, you need to power it somehow above the floor. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a redstone block be pushed in from over here. So have another double extender like that. Right. And then the same goes for the other side. And ideally, we don't really want the redstone block here. Let me fix this. We don't really want the redstone block here because then it's not seamless. So we're just going to hide it down here instead, one block lower, and it's going to fit right here. So let me just fill in the frame. Now we can get started with the actual redstone. Alright, so for our input block, I'm going to use this lime wool, and I should mention, because some people do, because people do ask these questions, no, it does not have to be wool. It does not have, the color doesn't matter. It just needs to be a block you can place redstone on, and that can be powered by redstone. So cobblestone, dirt, pretty much every block that looks solid is probably fine. Alright, so this is our input block, and we're going to put a lever on it right there. And we're going to power these pistons. We're just going to place a redstone torch on the side right there, with the block on top, and another redstone torch here, another torch there. And this is going to be powered this way. And notice that this also powers these pistons, so that's kind of useful to us. But most of the double extender stuff won't be, these torches won't be really involved with it at all. And so, okay, so far it's pretty straightforward. And so let's continue on. Another redstone torch on this side, and we're trying to transmit the signal up around the door like that. So pretty easy way. Obviously, if we just try to do it from here, you can't. There's not enough. It's too close. You can't get around the door. So if we start one block further away, well, 2 blocks, I guess. 1 block, 2 blocks. Yes, 2 blocks. I can count. Then we don't have a problem. So just like this. Then going up. And here what we can do is to power these side pistons, we can just place a torch like that, block on top, and a piece of redstone, and this should power all of these 4 pistons. The only one left is the top, and we can easily power it like that. Alright. This, I should say that this doesn't really have to be a repeater at this stage. You can do it like this, it works fine. And we'll just do the same thing on the other side. So since it's not a 1 block center, we're going to have to extend this 2 blocks, right, like that. And we can just do the same thing. So torch here, block, redstone dust, and dust like that. Okay, so if we look at what happens, it almost works, right? Well, everything we intended for it to happen happens. These don't extend, but that's kind of just what happened. We haven't rigged anything to make it extend, so it's fine. All right. Okay, so for the double extenders, the way we're going to do these is with a very nice double extender circuit. So let me just show you over here. Okay, so if we start out like this, notice that this block is actually powered. So this piston is actually powered right now. But if we power this, then your double extender will extend. When we unpower it, this is still powered by this torch. So, but this one will retract. And then if we power it again, then if you see what happens, because this one just unpowered, this torch actually doesn't have any effect on this because it can't be repowered that quickly. So instead, this piston extends, and so even when this torch turns back on, this piston will still be extended at that time, which means that this one won't extend unless you update it. Right. So it's a very nice circuit. It's very good for this kind of thing because, first of all, it's very small, and all you need is you can use the same circuit to do everything. Right, all you need is these 2 torches, and somehow you need to get more you need to get 2 pulses here. Right, you go here, and then when the door opens, right, then all you need to do is get another pulse here, and then you've retracted everything. So it's quite useful, and that's exactly what we're going to use for this door. Okay, so we're going to have a torch here and another torch here, and notice this torch actually powers these pistons, which is very useful for us. And so you notice that this torch actually needs to power this, so this needs to be a solid block like that, and the same will be true for the other side. So just like this, and notice that on this side, this powers this block, which is a problem, so we can just replace it with a repeater. On this side, this gets powered by this torch, which is also a problem, so we can just turn that into a repeater as well. So the next one, what's next? Triple extender. Okay, so for this, we're going to have an input here and an input here. To rig up this double extender, we can just put a piece of dust here to link it up to this torch. And we can also do the same thing for this triple extender, just like this. Alright. Or we could even do it like this. And you don't even need the repeater. This will be changed later, but for now it works. Okay, so something funny happened here. What was that? Oh, I see. So we have this issue here with first of all, this repeater is a bit of a problem, so we're just gonna do that. Or not do that. That's not good. Okay, so first of all, this repeater you see is powering this dust, so we need to replace that with another repeater. And to keep it the same delay, we're going to put we're going to set this to we're going to set that to 2 ticks. All right, and here we're going to just put a repeater there, and we'll mirror it on the other side. Okay, so now everything that we want to work is working. So next we have to rig up an input here. And that's pretty easy to do, just like this. We notice we need to have a repeater here because of this torch. And to rig it up to something that should be powered right now, you could use this torch. So just put a repeater there. And let's do the same thing on the other side. And just like that. And we almost have our full extension. We just need to do something about these, but that can wait. We don't need to worry about that right now. Okay, so if we unpower everything and we reset the bottom, we'll see that it actually probably doesn't work. And, well, you'll see why. Oh, it did work. Wow. Okay, never mind. I guess it did work. Yeah, that's good. I like it when things work. Okay, well, okay, well, let's just continue. Let's just continue. Don't worry about that. Pretend you didn't see that. Okay, so what we need to do next is we need to be able to push. We need to get this redstone block to get pushed up, so that this double extender can push it into here, right? And we can obviously do that with like a normal piston, right? It doesn't need to be sticky piston. In fact, it can't be a sticky piston, but if you see so watch this. Do you see how it extends even though there's actually not really anything powering? Even if we remove this, there's nothing powering it, right? But there is, because the redstone block powers this piston from 2 blocks because of budding and quasi-connectivity, which are the same thing, so I don't know why I said it twice. And even if we tried to do it like here, okay, that's not exactly what I wanted, but it kind of illustrates it. The problem is that even if we put it like right there, like right under, you see how it's not being budded, right? But the second we power it and it extends, it's never gonna retract because the redstone block will be in this position, which causes it to bud this piston. Okay, so that means it has to be at least. So I'm just gonna reset this real quick. Okay, so that means the piston has to be at least 2 blocks below. But 2 blocks below is occupied by this redstone dust. And we can't really remove it because something needs to be here to receive the signal. So what ABH actually did was he used a sticky piston here with a cauldron full of water, and then put a block up there like that. Well, put 2 blocks here, so when it's powered, it pushes everything up, right? And then here, he detected a signal like that with the comparator, and then put a piece of redstone dust like this, because obviously this actually needs to be powered right now. So he just put a torch on the bottom like that. Let's just do that on the same thing. Let's do the same thing here. let's do the same thing here. So 2 blocks, water in the cauldron, and like that, and like that. Okay. Okay. So what we need to do now is to hook up these double extenders. We're not going to worry about whether this actually works or not. We're just going to go with it for now. But we need the side to work, so let's do that. Okay, so we can do this pretty easily by just having an input from this torch. So like this. And then we we need power to these blocks right here. So pretty easy to do that, just like so. And actually we can't have okay, so this actually needs to be a slab here, and the reason why it needs to be a slab is because we're going to place some dust here. And this is also on a this is also on a slab, so that we don't bud this piston, and then when this powering this block doesn't bud it either, because now it's a slab, so it doesn't power anything. And then we just place a solid block there, a solid block there, and we get our complete extension for the sides. The only thing now that we have to worry about is how do we get this to extend first? And a very easy way to do that is just to put a torch here, and we'll like this, we'll block with redstone dust on top, and then now this buds this piston, but it doesn't actually, extend. It needs an update. So at this point, what we need to happen is, well, what we would like is actually if we could just hook up a direct input to this or somehow update it, then that would just be easier, right? And so we can just do that by, notice that this is actually a solid block. This block right here is exactly what we want. This is in the correct position, everything, right? And if we could just like put an input here, like just like that, right? That would be ideal. But we can't do that because this repeater is in the way. But there's somewhere else we can take an input, which is just right here. And so we're actually going to switch this. We're actually going to put this over here instead. Okay. But notice that when this everything is closed, the redstone block will end up here, right? This is where the redstone blocks hides. And so that means that that redstone block will power everything. So all we need to do is replace this with a slab, and the signal will not travel downwards. Meaning that only this piece of dust will be powered, and everything else will remain off. Okay, so let's just do that on the other side as well. Like so. And with our slab and redstone dust like that. Okay, and then on this side, we're just going to do the same thing that we did on the other side. So, like that, you see, is very good, very works, very works, yeah. And just like this, no, yes. And just like that, okay. Alright, so the entire extension is, the entire closing is pretty much almost done. The last thing we have to do is to get the top set up. So first of all, we can easily get the signal transmitted from here with a torch like that. And then to get to the correct height, we can just place another torch, and it needs to be on anyway, so we needed to place another torch anyway. So that's convenient, and we can just place the block like that. On the other side, we could do the same thing. And just kind of do this, and it powers everything. This is powered by budding, so we're good. Okay, so then on the other side, well, not on the other side, but you see that we actually have this powered as well, but we need this to also be powered. So we can just kind of, okay, so first of all, these two need to be solid blocks because they're going to be inputs. So we need inputs here like this, so that this double extender can be powered, and when the block pistons are here for the triple extender, that they can be powered through budding. So we can just easily rig it up kind of like this. Oh, even like that. And obviously this is going to change, right? But for now, it makes sense. So that's good enough. Oh, I didn't do it the same way. Okay. So we do it like this. And then somehow we need to also power this, which is getting into the hard part. Because if we just do this... Actually, that works. Yeah, that works. That's fine. It works. Okay, but this is what is possibly could happen. This is a bit of a problem. So we can actually power these from here as well, and then this will just be an input just for this, well, these pistons. And a very easy way to redirect the redstone is just by using a comparator. And so we actually need an input to this block as well, which runs into another problem because we don't want this to turn this comparator off. So we can kind of just do this instead, put a repeater there, and we can just power it like that. Yeah, sure, that works. Except it almost doesn't work because we actually need a repeater here to match the delay for this. So let's try and have as little delay as possible. So we can actually rig this up like this as well. So just, you don't even need this stuff. It just rigs it by, it just powers it by itself. I realize I keep using the word rig, and I'm not really sure why. But whatever, it works. Okay, so we can do the same thing on the other side, and actually we don't even need this block really, because this is powered by this is powered by that, right? So here we can have a repeater here and here, and with our redstone dust here and our repeater there, or comparator there. Okay, so this is what we want. And then all we need to do is hook up these inputs, and a probably pretty easy way to do that is just to do something like that, and then like 4 ticks or something to match the delay of this. Although if we're gonna do this, then it's fine. Okay. Alright, so like that. And now our closing is actually complete. But when we open it, it doesn't really work. So first of all, this needs to be updated. This also needs to be updated. Yeah, so we have a few problems, right? We're not going to deal with the top closing. I don't think it even, or the top opening. I don't think it might not even actually close properly. But we can deal with that when we get there. So let's just work on the bottom right now. So this is obviously a bit of a problem. So to visualize what we want to happen, let's just work with the triple extender first, because we know how the double extender is supposed to work. Right, so first of all, we need it to do this, right? And the only way we can get power here, right, to this piston is through this. So we need this to extend again, update, and then retract this redstone block. So in fact, it'd probably just be easier to let it stay out here and until like the next pulse comes through to extend this. right? Because the other option is to retract it fully and then bring it back out again, right? And then retract it again, which seems a little bit inefficient and is actually inefficient. And then all we need is for this to do that, you know, to move like that. And it at that point it's just a pretty, it's not it's probably not that hard because we have all the inputs we need, right? We just need to figure out actually how to get signals to them. Okay, so firstly what we need is to get an input here, right? And then we need this, and then after that we need this, right? So we need to make a falling edge monostable circuit, which just means that it fires when the system turns off. Okay, so when all the stuff is off, then we want it to do its thing. So when the system is on, this torch will be off, and then when it turns off, this torch will turn on, which makes it a perfect thing to thing, something, whatever to do this with, right? And the problem here is that it's kind of hard to, you know, actually make it because the space constraints are just too much, right? We could maybe do something like this instead, but then you get this torch powering it, which is not exactly ideal. Actually, that's exactly what we don't want. So we need to figure out how to create a monostable circuit that will that we can fit in this 2x3 area. Okay, and we have to like turn it super, you know, like a normal one would just be something like this. I'll just show you over here. A normal one would just be, you know, something like this. Right. And so what is happening here, right? So when you turn this on, this piston retracts. So now it's ready, and the next time this turns on, it's going to, the signal's going to go through. So, like so. Right. So this is what I mean by the falling edge. It's the falling edge of the whole system. Okay. But the thing about this one is it's quite space consuming, and that's not exactly, and we don't really have enough space for that. So what ABH did was it was very smart. He put a 2-tick repeater here, and just 2 ticks for more delay, you know, just so that everything would retract before this started, right? And then 2 ticks and actually a sticky piston with a cauldron and a bucket of water inside. And then here on this block he placed a comparator, and then here sticky piston with the block on top. So this looks like totally insane. Torch right there. But this is actually exactly what we were just looking at. So when it turns on, or when it turns off, when it's off, in this off state, you can see that it's actually ready to let a signal through. It's actually not true. It's not ready to let a signal through. Well, okay, so in this off state, this piston is up, so it's actually ready to let a signal through, this piston. It's not going to because of this setup with this cauldron, but what's going to happen is when this turns on, this cauldron there, this piston will extend, right? Your cauldron will end up here, giving an output to this comparator. But before all of that could happen, because this takes what, like 2, 3, about 5 ticks to account for the piston, about 5 ticks to happen. While over here in 1 tick, the piston retracts, right? So It's a bit of a problem, but it's not a problem. It's not a problem. Okay, it's not a problem. I mean, this is exactly what we want. When we turn everything on, we don't want this to send a signal through. But when it turns off, this torch will turn on in 1 tick, and this piston will extend. And then, so this, before this comparator gets a chance to turn off, this piston will be extended already, which means that if we take an output, we'll actually get an output, right? And so a repeater on 4 ticks here, and just like that. 4 ticks here, output, and then we want a redstone line here, and another repeater on 4 ticks. We need enough delay for everything to happen. And so now, now this will send another signal through, right? And it'll also send a signal through here, which is kind of is what we want, yeah? So if we do this, and then I'm going to set the tick rate to 2 so we can see it what's happening in slow motion. Okay, so this turns on now. And it almost happens like we want it to, except it doesn't happen like we want it to, because this is not updated late enough. So the problem here is that this turns off too fast. This turns off too fast, which means that essentially this redstone dust turns off before this does here. And notice that this is powering it through budding. So even after this stuff turns on, it's still going to be on because there's nothing to update it. So we need to increase the delay here to allow for enough time to get this to shut off. Right. Okay, so let's just do that on the other side as well. And let's just see what happens. And I'm going to go back 20 for the closing. Okay. So this falling edge is working, as you can see. And then this turns off. And there we go. It turned off. So that's actually what we wanted to happen. Right. Okay, so but we're still seeing that it's not really doing what we want it to. So this is okay. So this is actually working. It just doesn't grab this block when we want it to. So this is the problem. It stays extended for too long, and this update is actually this update, while it's working to it's working to get this unpowered, right? But it's not working quick enough. So we need to do something else. The other thing we can do is to get this to depower faster. Faster. Yeah, okay. I don't know why I said it like that. But we need this to depower faster. So what ABH does is he puts a redstone dust right there and just puts a piston here. So what this does, in fact, is that this block will be here, and so when the door is closed, the block will be in that position, allowing the signal to pass through. And then when it opens, then this will just instantly depower everything. Okay, so let's see what happens. So you see that this unpowers before that. Did you see that? Okay. Let's do it again. Okay. So watch this redstone dust carefully and watch the other upper repeater. See how that goes away before this redstone dust is unpowered. Right? So we don't get any problems with this being on for too long. Right? And there we go. Honestly, that's kind of it. Honestly, for the bottom, that's pretty much the entire thing. The last thing we need to do is to get something and a signal to this repeater, right? So that we can power this piston. And so the way we're going to do that is with a lock-a-stable. So if you don't know what a lock-a-stable is, it looks like this. Okay, so something like this, and we're actually using the repeater locking mechanism, to get a short pulse, right? So if we power this, you can see that this is trying to push a signal through, but in the same tick it gets locked. This repeater gets locked. So if we unpower it, then this happens. Okay, let me show you that again. So this unpowers in the same tick that this repeater receives the signal. It's kind of weird, but it works, so whatever. This repeater here controls how long this is locked, so it'll control when the pulse comes out. This will control how long. So, okay, so first of all, you can't have something like this, right? It's just not going to work. Right, because this one doesn't turn off in time. It needs to be this repeater passing the signal through has to be longer, or you could do something like this, and then in this case there's not even really any point. It just locks the repeater. So I guess this could be a kind of, I don't know, a pulse extender maybe. But this repeater here just controls how how fast this will be unlocked. So obviously if you set it to 3 ticks, then the pulse is going to come out faster than if you set it to 4 ticks, right? And this just this just controls like the pulse length. If you set it to 2 ticks, you'll get a 2-tick pulse. If you set it to 3 ticks, you'll get a 3-tick pulse, etc. If you send in a 4-tick pulse, then you're going to get a 4-tick pulse out. Right? If you send in a 4-tick pulse, you get a 4-tick pulse out. If you send in, well, if you send in a 1-tick pulse, then this controls it. But otherwise, it would probably be this one. So we're going to use that here. We're going to put it in a... First of all, a 1-tick repeater is not actually really going to do anything. Because this is just going to... We're sending a pulse here, so this is just going to unlock the repeater before the signal even manages to like get through. So it's actually not going to be any different. Yeah, so essentially what we're doing here is we're doing a falling edge of a falling edge. So when this pulse passes through, we want another pulse to come over here, right? But we want that we want that to happen after everything else happens. So we need to be able to send a pulse through and then later have a pulse come out that way. So that's why we're using this local stable. So 3 ticks will be enough. 2 ticks might work also, but we're just going to go with 3 ticks for now. And let's see what happens. And there we see that happening. And it doesn't work. Okay, so watch this piece of redstone dust. When this is extending, okay, this power's too late. This has already been retracted. Okay, that's why this piston never gets powered and never grabs that block. Okay, we can fix that. We just need it to be to get through, like, I don't know, a few ticks earlier, right? So really, all we need to do is add in another thing here. So let's try that and see what happens. Okay. Okay, so it does work. It does work. And then this will come through. Okay. That is actually what we wanted to happen. So we kind of like changed some stuff to make it work, and the stuff that was working before started breaking, so now we have to fix it again. And this is just kind of what happens, and you just kind of have to do it. So now what we need to do is we need to figure out how to get an extra pulse here. Okay, so first of all, let's copy what we did to the other side. So it goes like this. No, 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 not water, not water, not water. Good thing I'm running on 2 ticks. Okay. 2 tick repeater. Not this cauldron with the water bucket, and I'm just gonna get this water bucket out of my inventory. And then comparator like that, torch here, sticky piston, and block on top, and this is our falling edge monostable circuit. 4 tick repeater on top of slab so that this torch doesn't burn out. And here we have this kind of platform like this. Redstone dust goes like here. 4 tick repeater, 3 tick repeater, and 1 tick repeater. Okay. Is this on 1 tick? Yeah, this is actually on 1 tick. Okay, so let's see what happens when we do this. Oh yeah, I forgot to do the sides. We also did some stuff over here, which I'm pretty sure was just this. Like that. Okay, now let's try it again, and now it should work. And would you look at that? It almost does. Actually, it did work for the most part. The only thing here is, again, trying to get something here. Okay. So now let's take another look and see what's happening here to see what we need to do. Okay, interesting. So, if you were watching carefully, you might have noticed that at some point, before that last pulse, this repeater was on when these were right here, right? And so what happens at the end is that these get powered like this, right? And it pulls it down, and that's the end. Okay. But at some point, you might have noticed that while these pistons were being pulled down, this repeater was very, very close to powering this piston like this, right? And so if we could just make this pulse a little bit more delayed, then this piston would be able to, this piston would be able to retract this piston when it's in that position, right? Just with that pulse. And then the final pulse coming through the locus stable will pull everything down, right? We'll pull these door blocks down. Okay. So first of all, the most obvious one to change would be this one, because if you also might have noticed that this piston, this redstone block, ended up over here a little bit early. It could be a little bit later, and it would still probably work, right? So let's change this a little bit, since that's what's powering this piston when it's in this position, right? Okay, perfect timing. And this is still powering a little bit early. Okay. If we change this, I mean, we can try changing this. Okay, we can try changing this, and it's probably a little bit too late, because that seemed like the perfect timing right there. Okay. Oh, it still actually works. Yo, epic. Except now this doesn't retract like it did before. So let's change it back to 2 ticks, and because we know that worked. We know that worked with this as well. And let's try changing these instead, right, to have 1 more tick. Okay. Okay. And now, hopefully, it will work. We did see that the entire thing actually worked. The entire triple extender worked. It's just that these redstone block double extenders didn't really do what we wanted them to. There we go. There we go. And that's the triple extension. That's the triple retraction already done. So, yeah, it is like the interesting thing about this is that it's actually much more straightforward than you would expect, right? There are a few things like this, maybe. It's definitely this, and having the idea to use a locus stable here or whatever. But, it's not really that hard to understand. For a door as big as this, it's not that hard to understand. It actually kind of makes sense. I mean, I think it makes sense. Hopefully you think it makes sense as well. And so yeah, that's kind of the lesson here. That journey we just took to get to this point is kind of what you have to do, and you want to take away these kind of devices here. Extremely compact monostable circuit. This stuff is kind of what you want to steal because it's useful, right? And everything else is just kind of trial and error, seeing what happens. And I have the carpet mod installed. It's very useful for looking at what's actually happening in the Redstone build. So I would recommend you install that. In fact, actually, I messaged ABH on Twitter a while ago, probably like half a year or a year ago or something like that. Probably closer to a year ago at this point. And I asked him like how can I get better at Redstone? And what he said to me was that getting better at Redstone basically is just how fast you can how efficient can you be at trial and error. So that's kind of the mindset you want to go in with this. It's not, you can't really plan anything. You kind of just like do something that makes sense and then try and adapt it. I mean, this is weird. I probably would not have thought of this. But you know, it works pretty well. And it makes this input separate from that one a little bit. So, pretty smart. But yeah, I hope you are not like too. It kind of just goes to show you that you shouldn't be too intimidated by these builds, because they're usually like you can take them apart. You can figure out how it works, and you should do that because it will help you figure out how to do your own thing, right? All right, so now let's get on with the sides, and so. Well, let's just look at what's happening first, right? As always, trying to figure out what's going on. Also, you'll notice that I left the double extenders. I'm going to get back to that later, but for now, I'm going to look at this. Okay, so pay attention to this repeater here. Okay, so we can already see that the problem is that this piston will not this piston is not powered by this, because even though it looked like it might have been powered by it, but it's not, because it's a little bit too early, right? So let's maybe 2 ticks or something. Okay, so it's still too early. Let's try another one. And now we get something funny going on here. Okay, so you can see that that works, and I know this thing looked really strange because there was nothing here, and a signal still somehow got through. That's just a graphical thing because of the animations are still running at 20 ticks per second, but the game is not actually running at 20 ticks per second. So the game is going much slower than the animation shows. So the block is actually still there. It's just in the process of being retracted. Probably like about to start retracting at that time. Yeah, so pretty easy. It works. Okay, so let's just change it on the other side. And this should work perfectly fine. There we go. The last thing to do is to figure out what to do with this double extender. So if I can already tell you that. Okay, so if you were paying attention when we were talking about the double extender earlier, you might already know what's going on. Okay. So the problem here is that these pistons are being updated by this triple extender retracting. So we need all of this stuff to finish retracting before this piston retracts. Or before it, we want it to finish at the same time, so that this piston won't be updated by by these. Let me just show you. It might be easier. Okay, so if we look at what's happening here, okay, you see it's doing what we want so far, but then this messes it up. Okay, so it works and then it unworks. Okay, so probably just delay the input by a few ticks. Okay, so we'll try 3. And we should be able to see that it should work now. And there we go. There we go. And okay, so now you see that it retracts all at the same time. Well, or at least pretty close. So this extending, when what's grabbing this piston, nothing happens, right? It doesn't update that piston. So yeah, that's the bottom pretty much complete. So now let's start on the top. The top is very annoying. It's also very smart. I don't know if I could really have come up with it, but you know, we can still see how it works. Honestly, most of it is like fairly straightforward, except for one piece that is very strange. Actually, two pieces that are really weird, and I don't really. One of them I don't fully understand how it works, but yeah. So let's just try it. Okay, so the extension is all fine. The extension works. There's nothing wrong with it. Well, again, like we always do, let's see what needs to happen. Okay. So first of all, we kind of want this to retract to stay extended for a little bit longer, so that this one can retract in time. So we can do that by doing this. Just put some more delay in here, and it's not that we want this to, you know, we don't want this delay going here to increase. We just want this to stay on for longer, right? So it still powers in 3 ticks, right? That's what we want. And here we're gonna create a pulse extender, right? Just like this. Okay. So now it's going to stay on for 4 ticks. Well, it's going to stay on for 3 more ticks. That's the idea. Okay, so let's see what happens, I guess. Oh, and of course mirror on the other side. Okay. So you see that it does do what we want it to. Except this doesn't retract. Okay, so the problem is we don't want this to extend on the second time, on the second pulse. So what ABH did was very smart and kind of weird. What he did was he brought out, so essentially he needed to lock this repeater, right? Like that. But there's not really enough space for it here. And there's not really enough space for a toggle to like do the way you want it to. So it only happens on the second time, right? So this is actually pretty genius. What he does is so repeater into this block with a torch on the side, another torch here, and then we need a dropper and a hopper. So we need a dropper, and then we need a hopper. And the hopper goes in this, the item goes in this hopper right here. Okay, so what's going to happen is when this turns on, this will turn on first, right? Powering this dropper. But there's nothing in the dropper, so it doesn't matter. This will unpower, which means that the item will go into the dropper. But the dropper has already fired, so it won't fire again, even though it's still powered. Okay? And which means that this comparator will lock this repeater, but this repeater will be on at this point, right? At this time, it will be on because this circuit takes longer to do its thing than this tick repeater over here takes to turn on. And so here, what we have, this redstone dust is used again, and not just for this pulse extender, but it's actually used to turn this comparator off so that this can turn off later, right? Because we want this to turn off. We want it to lock it while it's off, but we want it to turn off first. So this piece of redstone dust has signal strength 15 because this is the first block of redstone dust after the repeater. This, however, only has 1 signal strength because it's just detecting the amount of items in the dropper, and you only have 1, right? And you only have 1/64th of 1 slot. So you have a very weak signal strength. It's only going to be 1. So this comparator will turn off because this side input is the signal strength is greater than the back. So this repeater will be locked in its off, this repeater will be unlocked so that it can turn off later. Okay, so then when we open the door, right, this turns back on. So first of all, this turns off, right? Then this turns on, so this turns off, and then this turns back on. But this doesn't actually change anything because this dropper has not been powered. So the item will still be in this dropper. The only difference is now this is unpowered. This redstone dust is not powered anymore, which means that there's this comparator will turn on, right? Because the signal strength is now 0, and this one is greater. So now this will turn on. This will lock it off, right? So this repeater will be locked off. So when this 4-tick pulse comes through, this torch will this stuff will be powered over here, but this piston will not be powered, which means that this retracts this piston, and this will retract this block, right? Because this is still going to be powered. It's only this piston that's not powered, and that's exactly what we want, right? And then after that, so this will turn back off, which means this dropper will be powered. But then the 4-tick pulse is not long enough to have the item go into the hopper and then back. So by the time the item's in the hopper, then this torch will already be on, which means the hopper will be locked again, and this will have nothing in it, and then so this repeater will be unlocked. And so the 4-tick pulse is long enough so that by the time this unlocks, this is still able to receive a signal from this block. Okay, so that means that after this retracts, like here, and this block retracts, then you'll have a then the power will come to here, and so this will power like this. Okay, so let's see what's going to happen right now. I'll mirror this on the other side first, so we can have a repeater here, torch, another torch, and then a dropper, hopper, and then block, just an or a stackable item here. So you want it to be able to stack up to 64. You might be able to have something that stacks up to 16, but just it's easier just to put a random block in, and then compare to here. And yeah, that should be it. Now let's see what happens. Let's just see what happens normally first. Wow. Wow, that worked very well. Actually, that worked very well. That did exactly what we wanted it to. Yeah. So, if you're wondering, you might be thinking, why don't these pistons get powered even though a signal is coming through here? Well, that's because it's already been powered. So this does receive a signal, yes, but this gets powered last, basically. So these two things receive a signal at the same time, but when this is being powered, this is being locked, right? So at the very end of the pulse, this will be powered. But by that time, this will already be off, and then this will be retracted. So that's why it works. And the last thing we have to do is to have this be powered again, so that this will retract. Essentially, we're using this bud, and let me show you real quick. So first of all, if you do it at a certain time, like that, then this one will not be able to retract. This one will not be able to retract quickly enough to be powered again by this input. So, and this piston the bottom piston will extend first, basically. So that's pretty much it. So that's how we're going to power this. And well, knowing how we're going to do it is a lot easier than actually doing it. So yeah, let's figure out how to do that, I guess. Also, something that we could do right now is actually we can put these pistons in to push them back down. So there we go. Pretty much every other time there's going to be like stuff here, or this is going to be pushed up, so it won't be able to do anything. Something just hit my window. Not sure what that was. Maybe it was a bird. That's kind of sad. But let's continue. Or maybe that's mean. Maybe that's mean. I don't know. Okay, but let's continue. Let's continue. Yeah, so we can figure this out later. Alright, so let's look at that and let's slow it down so that we can see actually what's happening. Okay, so that's fine. Okay, so now this is locked. Yes, very good. Okay, interesting. So, something interesting just happened. This actually gives 2 pulses. So the reason there are 2 pulses at the end instead of 1 like we predicted is because of this repeater. And it's probably like exactly the correct time that we need it. It's like the exact correct timing that we need for this to work, to do the budding thing that I talked about earlier. So basically it sends a pulse through here like we talked about, but then also it sends another pulse through here 2 ticks later. And that's enough time for this to unpower, and then so it gets powered again. That's why there's 2 pulses. And so the problem lies with this here. So the problem here is that when it's retracting this block, it takes a tiny bit too long, like half a tick or something, like just a tiny bit too long, so that this piston can't retract it because it's still technically extended. So alright, so I've decreased this by 1 tick, so now it's on 3 ticks instead of 4, and we're gonna see what happens. And now we run into this problem where this extension doesn't work because this fires too early. Okay, so if we do this, it might actually work, but the extension won't work. So, but it might actually work. It does, in fact, work. Okay, except for that last thing. That's just some budding issues. But other than that works. Except it doesn't work because now it's 1 tick too early, so this will not extend properly. So instead, what we need to do is we need to return it to 5 ticks, because before it was 5 ticks, including this torch. Now it's 4, but we needed to be 5, but we also needed to be like half a tick faster. And the way we do that is by extending it so that it goes over here, right, with a repeater. Except it's actually not a repeater, because what we're going to do is something really strange, but it works. So we're going to put a comparator here, put it on subtract mode, and then over here you're going to put a repeater coming out from this torch. Slab, slab, and then we need to replace this with a slab so that it doesn't block the redstone. Okay? And this is really weird. Because if this is not on subtract mode, so first of all, you notice that this is actually this signal strength is 14. So this actually will not do anything, because there's a repeater here, right? You're going to end up with a 14, well, not a 14. You're going to end up with 1 signal strength at the end, right? From the torch gives 15, this gives 14. So 15 minus 14 is 1, right? But that means but this repeater will refresh it. So you're going to get a full signal strength here anyway, so it doesn't matter. But what this does is that for some reason, if you have this on compare mode, then it will take 1 tick to turn this off and then another tick to turn this off. If you have it on subtract, the torch and this will turn off in the same tick. And it only works in the setup. I think it's because it probably has something to do with some weird updating stuff, because this turns off, this repeater turns on 1 tick before this torch turns off, right? Or this redstone turns on 1 tick before this turns off. So maybe because it's updating it somehow, and then this turns off, and then it realizes, oh wow, I'm supposed to be off, or I'm supposed to be off already, because the signal strength here is 0, and so it should be 0 output or something. I'm not really sure what's going on here. If anybody knows, please put it in the comments. I would really like to know what is going on here, but it works. So well, I'll show you what happens if it's on compare mode. So the extension works, right? But then here, okay, you see it takes another tick to turn that off. It's not a problem right now. But then this problem still occurs, right? Where it is still extended when everything is trying to retract. Okay. And now if I put it on subtract mode, so you see that the comparator and the torch turn off at the exact same tick. Okay, and now the retraction is fast enough. Okay. The only problem at the end is that, and that's pretty easily controlled by just, you know, have well, okay. I didn't say that very well. That budding problem can be fixed. Well, what ABH did was he just made the sides out of sync, so that one of them would retract. While one of them was retracting, it would update the other one, right? So let's fix this first. So set this to 2 ticks. Delete this torch, and then comparator on subtract mode there. Slab like that with redstone dust, and a slab here as well. Then repeater there, 1 tick. And then now it should work perfectly fine, except for the last part where it stays extended. And to fix that, let's just put this on 4 ticks instead. Okay, we have some problems with the bottom extension, but don't worry about that. We'll fix that later. But you see, now everything retracts as it should. Very good, very good. This is really weird. It's really weird how this works. I really don't get it, but you know, it works, so whatever. So okay, now let's deal with the double extender here. First of all, the problem, I think we can already see that the problem is, well, actually, that's not true. I'll show you. I'll show you. Sorry, this is like kind of unstructured tutorial. I've never done this before, and I thought I knew how it worked, and then I had to like do some other testing or whatever. But it's a very big build, you know. Okay, so let's watch this double extender carefully. Okay. Right, that's fine. And then it extends again. It extends again. That's a bit of a problem. And let's see what's going on here, because I think you might have figured out how we're going to power this when it's in this position. It's the same thing as with here, is you butt it, except you butt it with this block, right? Well, I mean, this powers this also, but... Okay, so we're gonna see what happens. So we can see this top piston is retracting too early. Okay, so we just need to lengthen the pulse a little bit. And we can do that pretty easily just by locking this repeater in the on state until all this stuff turns off. So that should improve things a little bit. So now it's finally turning off. But the other pulse comes in too fast. And we still have problems, it seems. Alright, so looking at the double extender, this is kind of hard to see. We need to be able to see the redstone and the double extender at the same time. So right now with our extender, with our pulse extender, we can see that the bottom piston has retracted properly, but the top piston never retracts because this comparator is powered on too long. This comparator is powered on too long, and then so the top piston never gets an opportunity to retract. Right? So what we need to do here is, and the problem is that we can't really do anything about this, because if we remove any of this, then it just plain doesn't work, right? Comparators should turn on in one tick and turn off in one tick. But maybe because it's doing stuff with pistons, it gets weird, and comparators have this property where they will not respond to one tick pulses. It has to be 1.5 tick or greater. And so maybe it has something to do with that. I'm not sure. Like this stays on. Maybe this stays on for like because it can carry 1.5 tick pulses, I believe. While repeaters can only carry 1 tick. And so I think perhaps this, when it's in compare mode, because this stays on, right? Even though these are are on at the same time, but maybe this takes like half a tick longer to I don't know, to what's it called? To unpower. So therefore, by turning into subtract mode, it's never powered at all when the door is on. So the only thing that's controlling those pistons is this. So therefore, it makes it in time to have the pistons retract. Okay. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I don't get this double extender at all. I don't know why it works when it's in subtract mode, because now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on 2 ticks, and it will work anyway, even though this apparently doing with a comparator makes it on for too long. So, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. Yeah, so you see, it retracts. It retracts, even though when I have this, it doesn't retract, even though it should be the same. So yeah, I'm really not sure, because when it's like this, it seems like this is the only thing controlling. But yeah, if somebody knows what's going on, please tell me, because I honestly just I don't know what's going on. But yeah, so what's the reason why we changed this to 2 ticks instead was because, oh, let me slow it down. essentially we need this piston to retract a little bit later, so that when the next pulse comes through, it powers this piston with the budding, and then this piston won't power anyway. Instead, this piston will not power, and the bottom one will instead. Okay, well, somehow the top works. Don't know how this. I'm sorry, I don't know how this double extender works. Okay, so now everything is pretty much done except for this bottom extension problem. But this is pretty easily fixed. First, let's slow it down to see what's happening. Okay, so this extending is fine. It's being pushed up. Okay, so we can already see the problem. This fires too early. Actually, well, it's not that this fires too early. It's that this updates it at the wrong time, right? So, in fact, what we should do is get this entire thing extended, at least to this piston, so this piston will be retracted, but at least these two pistons extended before this even starts. Okay, so very easy to do that. All we have to do is get in here. Okay, place a block there with a one tick repeater, and then over here we're going to have it be powered from this side. Okay, or we're gonna power this side. We're gonna power this first, and then this side is gonna be powered through this circuit here. So it's pretty straightforward. And we're not going to have any problems over here because this repeater is blocking the signal. So if we see now, this should be out of the way completely, so that by the time this redstone block is over here, it doesn't really matter. See, there we go. There we go. Yeah, that's the whole door. Everything works. Alright, so hopefully that explanation was helpful. There are some parts that I do not understand at all, but it's just the weird comparator stuff. But aside from that, I hope you can see why this the redstone is the way it is, and what each part actually does. And I hope that's helpful to you in your future redstone builds. Alright, so for the block by block tutorial without the explanation, here it is. You're going to need a 14x3 space and this building area should be 5 blocks, including the floor. So if we build up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 like that, that's how you get to it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the middle of this 14x3 area. I've just put the frame here for reference, but you likely will not have that. So your triple extender is going to be here, double extender right in front, and then in front of that you're going to have your 4 outer pistons like this. The sides is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 like that, and here it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes. And here you're going to have a double extender. Well, you're going to have 4 double extenders like so. And the same for the other side. Okay, the top is going to have 6 pistons like this. And then here you will have, in the middle you're going to have 2 double extenders and then 2 triple extenders at the back, like this. At this point, you can go ahead and fill in like the top part of your frame and even the sides. I wouldn't fill in the bottom yet because we need to do some work down there, but this should be all right. I forgot these. Okay, so now for the redstone. Alright, so our input block is going to be at the middle, right under this left central piston. And we're going to place a lever here, 2 torches on either side. We're going to have blocks on top of each, 1 torch on top of this one and 1 torch to the side. And we're going to put here, right behind this, a repeater. And then over here we're going to have 2 blocks like that, 1 block up, 2 repeaters here, and then a torch like that. And we're just going to build this little torch tower. Well, it's not really little, but we're going to build this torch tower up until here. So this should be in line with the 4th piston from the bottom. And right here you're going to place another torch. I'm just going to place it again to reset the 1 tick, to reset the door blocks. Block on top with redstone dust, and not that, but you're going to place another block there, and with 2 redstone dusts like that. And then over here, you're going to want two sticky pistons like that. So this is going to be another double extender. Redstone dust like this, with torch there, and then redstone dust like that. And then over here, you're going to want a 4-tick repeater. And then over here, you want a slab. So you want a half slab. And then over here, you want another one. You're going to put a 1-tick repeater there. And then a block going into a block which powers this. And then this also. And so this block, and this block. Actually, it's this block and this block. Those need to be solid blocks. Okay. You can mostly make the door out of anything else, but these 2 blocks need to be solid blocks because they're going to power these pistons when they're at this level. Okay. Redstone dust on the back, so it should be in line with this piston right here. And then piston facing downwards with a block on its face. Alright, so moving to the other side, 4-tick repeater there, going into a block with a torch, another torch, another torch, another torch, another torch, and here 2 redstone dust, here a torch, and a redstone dust right there. Okay. Here is another torch, and we will have a redstone dust here on the back, on this block, on the back of this piston to power this piston right here. And here we're going to have a 4-tick repeater, 2 slabs like this, block there, 1-tick repeater there, and redstone dust there. Redstone dust on the, again, kind of in line with these pistons, running into a piston facing downwards with a block on its face. Okay. I'm just going to reset the door a little bit. And so now what we're going to do is, firstly, you want to have 1 block here and another block here. There will be a torch right here, another torch here, okay, and then a floor block. This has to be solid. And here, so right in front of this repeater, torch, and then torch on top, and then a solid block on top of that. So this should be your floor block. And then we're going to put 2 redstone dust like this, and then running into it will be a 3-tick repeater, And then here we're going to have a sticky piston and a cauldron with a water bucket filled with water, and then 2 blocks, and then we want a redstone block here. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and put that redstone block there. And then here we're going to have a comparator and a redstone dust in front with a torch on the side of this redstone dust. And here we're going to do the same thing, so kind of with this layout, I need the cauldron again, and 2 blocks like that. Here we're going to have a 3-tick repeater, 2 redstone dusts like this, a comparator here, redstone dust in front, and then a torch on the side. And then here we're going to have a 2-tick repeater with a sticky piston, a cauldron with a water bucket in it, and then on the side of this cauldron we're going to place a block with a comparator on top, and then back on the floor we're going to have a sticky piston with a block on top. And then right across from it, so on this block, we're going to place a redstone torch. I'll just finish this side first. 4-tick repeater here, coming out from this block, and then into a block which powers all this stuff again. And then we're going to have this kind of shape like this. 3 redstone dust like that, 4-tick repeater, 3-tick repeater, 2-tick repeater. Then here we're going to have a 4-tick repeater like that, a block with redstone dust, and then just place some blocks starting from here. Place a repeater, 1 tick, and then a block like that, and then another repeater, and then just some redstone dust to connect. Okay. Now let's do it on the other side as well. So first here we're going to place a 2-tick repeater, cauldron, a sticky piston with a cauldron on top, and a water bucket, and now we don't need any more water. So I'm going to get that out of my inventory before I destroy everything. Okay. The cauldron is on the side of the cauldron is going to be a block with a comparator on top, and then on the floor again we have a sticky piston facing upwards with a block on its face, and then right across from it will be a torch. On the side of this block, well, coming out of this block, we're going to take an output to it into a 4-tick repeater, which is going to power this block and then power this stuff, and then block here, and then a 2x2 right there. 3 lines, a line of redstone like that, and then 4-tick, 3-tick, 2-tick. And then here you have a 4-tick repeater, and then 2 blocks like this. Get in here, a block next to this block with a torch on it, and put a 1-tick repeater, and then going into the repeater is a block, and then a 1-tick repeater here. Actually, this should be 2 ticks, so change this as well. That should be 2 ticks as well. And then just redstone there to connect. At this point, the bottom should be mostly finished. Oh, right here we need a 1-tick repeater like that. And that should be mostly it, actually, so we can test it. And it doesn't work, and it doesn't work because we need a half slab right there with a piece of redstone dust on it, and the same for the other side. And now the bottom works. So at this point you can fill in your bottom. This redstone block is still here because we need a pusher on the top, but we can do that later. Okay, so now for the top, we want a block there, redstone torch on top of it, another block, another redstone torch, a block on top of this redstone torch, and then a block to the side with a repeater, 1-tick repeater, right there, and then going into a block, like that. And then, so here first we want to place some dust like that in this L shape on both sides, and then 2 blocks on top of here, and then just place like a 2x3, actually a 2x3, and then over here we're going to have place a 2x4 platform, and then coming out of this torch we're going to take an output into a 2-tick repeater going into a block, and then redstone dust here, here, and here. This is going to be a 1-tick repeater, this is going to be a 1-tick repeater, and this is going to be a comparator on subtract mode. Okay, it has to be subtract mode. This is very important. And then on the other side, on the other side, let's just start from over here. So we're mirroring it. So torch, block, block to the side, repeater on 1-tick, and then going into a block, and then place 3 blocks like this, 2-tick repeater, and then 2 redstone. Okay. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to... Oh, I forgot to mirror this. So, place the blocks like shown, 2-tick repeater, and then redstone dust here, here, and here. 1-tick, and then 1-tick, and then a comparator on subtract mode like that. And then here, we want a 1-tick repeater going into a block with a redstone torch on the side. And then you want a block here with a 2-tick repeater on it, and then this block here and a block there. And here you want a comparator on subtract mode, and then place a block here, 1-tick repeater on it, and then a half slab there and there, and then put 2 redstone dust on it. And now we're going to so on top of this redstone dust, place a block, and then right here we're going to place a 3-tick repeater, and then here and here, so place a block on top of this torch. That was not very descriptive. And then place a torch on its side. And now we need a dropper and a hopper, so place a dropper on the block, and then a hopper above the torch, facing into the dropper. And then you're going to put a random item into this hopper. And then place a block there. We're going to have a comparator coming out of it. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So block on the side of this torch, repeater, and then torch on the side of this block like that. Block here, and we're going to put a 2-tick repeater, oh, not that, 2-tick repeater here, and then a block behind it, and then a comparator here on subtract mode. And then here, we're going to have a 1-tick redstone repeater, and then 2 slabs like this with redstone dust on top of them. And then block here, and slab here, 3-tick repeater, and redstone dust. And then on top of this torch, we're going to place a block with another torch on the side, a dropper on top of the block, and a hopper facing into it. Put in some random item, and then taking an output from the dropper is going to be a comparator. Actually, don't put it in the dropper, put it in the hopper. My bad. Okay, so item goes in the hopper. Okay. Now it should be pretty much done, actually. So the last thing we need to put in is pistons here and here. Okay, so these will push them back down. So let's test. Closing works. And the opening works as well. And it's seamless now. These pistons have done their job and pushed these redstone blocks back into their hiding spot. So yeah, that's it. Good job if you made it that far. Okay, so for some troubleshooting, I haven't really had any problems. The main thing is if your door doesn't work, like so probably. So first of all, make sure these comparators, these two comparators are on subtract mode, as well as this one and this one. Okay, it's actually very important that they're on subtract mode. Another thing could be that check the timing of this repeater here. Make sure it's on 2 ticks. Make sure wherever, so this needs to be solid, 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 and these 2 blocks here need to be solid. And this block needs to be solid, and this block needs to be solid. Okay, so make sure those are solid. The rest of them you can place glass or whatever you want, or like defense gates or something weird. But the rest, but those 6 blocks need to, not 6, more than 6, whatever, how many, 4, 10. Yes, I can count. Those 10 blocks need to be solid. Okay. And then make sure if you're having trouble with the bottom, so if the bottom extension isn't working right, if the bottom triple extension isn't working right, check that you have a repeater here on 1 tick and a repeater here on 1 tick. Okay, that's very important. If you're having trouble with the bottom double extenders, you can try setting one of these to 4 ticks and then see if one side may need it and the other side may not. I've only had this issue once and I'm not really sure what caused it, but I fixed it by setting one of the sides to 4 ticks. So if you're having trouble with it, try it on one side and then try it on the other side. One of them might not need it, one of them might need it, and then yeah. So just experiment a little with those timings. I don't really think you'll have a problem with that, but just in case you do, there's that. All right, so once again, just to show that it works still. Okay. There we go. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like this kind of new format, then give it a like or something. That would be greatly appreciated. Yeah, if you want to subscribe, you can do that as well. That is an option. Yeah, I hope my explanation was good enough, and I hope it helps you in your future redstone projects. There's a lot to take away from this, but yeah. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.